Hi, good morning. I would like to talk today about how you can not only survive but thrive when having a highly sensitive toddler at home. Toddlers and slightly older children. Having a highly sensitive child myself at home, like in our family, I can talk from experience as I've done a lot of research and reading on this. And actually, what I found the most difficult at first was to identify, do we really have a highly sensitive child, or is the behavior our child is displaying actually normal toddler behavior? Because you hear all those different jokes about toddlers being like in puberty and the terrible twos and these kind of things. So it is quite hard to identify, is my child really different from the average, or is it just behavior that's because I'm overwhelmed or overtired, seems to me to be more than normally challenging. So, what you could do first of all to identify if your child is a highly sensitive child, and without going into the whole like jumping through loops to get an official diagnosis and this kind of stuff, but more like identifying if your child is, if this is like the average toddler behavior, if your child is like a bit to that extreme. So here are things that are actually typical toddler behaviors, and any toddler will display them at some point, at some phase in their development, and are absolutely nothing to worry about. Not that you should worry if you have a highly sensitive child, but then it demands a different approach in order for you as a parent to thrive and for the child to also thrive. So, what is actually typical toddler behavior? Toddlers will be temperamental. They will have mood swings. They will throw tantrums. They will cry in public. They will roll on the floor, do like the sea star, like in the middle of the supermarket, and demand attention. Um, Food battles. It is also common with toddlers. They might not like certain textures, or they might suddenly not like a food that was their favorite food the day before. These kind of things, or favorite clothes that they want to wear a specific thing, this sort of stuff. It is also typical toddler behavior. And also resisting change. When you drop them at the daycare, for example, or if they have to stay at grandma's, this kind of things, like having difficulty with change, their change of rhythm, even change of the seasons when it's suddenly darker, like it is now in the northern hemisphere, like these kind of things, they can affect toddlers and they can react to them in different ways. So all these things are just toddlers being toddlers. Now, highly sensitive toddlers and young children, they do have all that, but then a pinch more. So the thing is that kids, like highly sensitive kids, can display extremes of emotions. Like you can see that your child gets, if they get sad or if they get angry, they often get into this like spiral, downward spiral, and it's very hard to comfort them or to distract them, or to make them feel better, and they are just into this, into their emotions, into their feelings, and they can't seem to calm down, no matter how hard you try, no matter what you try. They might have also more extreme reactions to sensory input. For example, like um, bright colors, or loud music, even the happy cheerful music that for other kids it would be fun to jump around with, for a highly sensitive child it might be too much. Or if they hear sad music, they might start crying immediately, or they might react to like smells that are unfamiliar, like even a food smell might be too much for them. This sort of thing, like clothes, the textures of their sweaters or the seams of socks, or this kind of stuff. They are more prone to meltdowns, and this is because the sensory input can be too much for them, and they cannot, if they are not taught how to regulate this sensory input and how to deal with the overstimulation, they will melt down more often. And this is exactly the kind of thing that we will talk about, how you can deal with these kind of things. They might also have a low tolerance in being corrected. They want things, they want to be right. They want things to be their way. They believe that what they think is true and the right thing to do. That's it. That's like universal truth. Uh, Man, we are experiencing now a second round. This specific, I mean, this specific symptom, not like a full blown highly sensitive child. Um, They also may be very inflexible, and they may have their own specific rules of how things should be done. Like you should put first, you put on socks, and then you should put the right sock first. And if you try to do it like the other way around, they might have a meltdown. You're like, what does it matter? But for them, it does. Like it's the end of their little tiny world. And other things like how their space is organized, where their pillow is, what kind of little, dolls they will sleep with, their toys will have around them, how they organize their toys. Like it's very specific in their mind sometimes. And they can also be very insightful and very empathetic, and they can really read the feelings of others. Like they can be highly sensitive doesn't actually mean a child necessarily gets sad very easily, or happy very easily, or is like feels the feelings of others. Like it's not that it's this very kind and very gentle soul. They very often are, but it also means they absorb. They absorb the feelings of others. They have these very sensitive antennas, and they can feel it when there is tension in the atmosphere. For example, maybe you had a little quarrel with your husband, or your wife, and the kids can just feel the tension in the atmosphere, even if you never fight in front of the kids. So even if you're just in the kitchen, just washing the dishes and maybe, bagging the cupboard a bit more, like a highly sensitive child will actually feel this, will sense it, and will become overstimulated because of it. So let's say that you've identified that you have a highly sensitive child, and the things I'm describing now sound very familiar to you. What can you actually do in order to make their life easier and your life easier as well as a result? And it is true, like the whole family dynamics can be affected, because a highly sensitive child that has not been identified as such and is just seen as someone who is constantly being very dramatic and and causing trouble, is actually causing can even cause drifts, like between siblings, for example, because then one child gets more attention, the other not, and is it fair or not? So the first thing that you can and should do, in my humble opinion, is watch yourself first. Like watch your triggers and see when do you get upset, when your child reacts to something, like when your child is having a meltdown, when your child is crying or is causing a scene in public, or you're getting ready to go to school or to preschool, and your child is suddenly on the floor having a full-blown meltdown. Like how are you feeling, and what are you actually thinking in this moment? I can tell you, like from personal experience from myself, because I have been a sensitive child, highly or not, I don't know. We didn't have that sort of knowledge back then. But I was like the dramatic one. I was the one who couldn't take a joke. I was the one who would like overreact to things. And for me, what triggered me a lot when our first child came along, and she is a highly sensitive child, it was the fact that I was actually, even though my parents, like for the time that I grew up, and because my mother has relevant like psychology studies, they were trying to be like patient and understanding with me, but you could still see like in their eye rolls, in their sighs, they were like, okay, we try to be patient with that child, but why is she being so dramatic? So what triggered me in my own child's reactions was, I'm doing my best here. I'm trying to listen to you. I'm trying to give you time. Still, it's not working. You get much more attention and much more, how to say it, many more opportunities to actually express your feelings than I did. And still, you are being dramatic, funnily enough. So I really had to, like, a bit reparent myself and work through my own issues, and look back into my own childhood and realize that actually when my child reacted in that way, a big part of why I got upset, and this of course sent her also in a spiral of being even more upset because she was sensing I was being upset and it was going like that, was actually realize that I was sad and disappointed that my inner child did not have the chances that my own daughter actually had to express her feelings fully and be accepted for them. And this did make me feel resentful And this is why I also did therapy. This was actually the reason that I first started working with a parent coach and doing therapy, because I could see that my frustration and my irritation with my child was irrational and disproportional to how she reacted, even though she also had like the increased all the signs we said of a highly sensitive child. So she did have more meltdowns. She was crying more. She was shouting more. She went through a period of like extreme sadness, thinking of when I would die, like these sort of really deep, deep feelings, deep emotions that were very hard for us to process and help her process. So this is number one. May you be a highly sensitive individual, were you a highly sensitive child and forced to grow out of it because, it was the 80s or the beginning of the 90s or whatever. Have a look into it. Like, look into your childhood with curiosity, with a curious sense. Say, hey, wait a minute. Like, am I really upset that my 2-year-old, my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old is now crying and shouting? Or am I upset because I'm feeling judged by the people around if I'm in a public place? Or am I being upset because I was not allowed to do it as a child, so now I shouldn't allow them to do it? Or I'm angry because they are allowed to do it and still they behave like, look at it with curiosity and think, why am I being so upset? Why do I have these reactions? And also look into how your body reacts. I'm very disconnected. We're very disconnected from my bodily reaction. So I've worked on that. Like, are you feeling warm? Are you feeling your shoulders tight when your child reacts? Are you feeling, your neck stiffen or a headache starting, like, or your stomach, bubbling up? Like, notice your body and just stay with that feeling like, oh, I feel really uncomfortable now with what is going on. You don't have to solve it, but just observe it and come back to it later when you're calm, when your child is calm, and see what could have caused that reaction. Number 2 that I have here in my notes that I'm glassing is the importance of boundaries. We did that so wrong with our first, and we will be eternally grateful to a kindergarten teacher who actually made us realize something very crucial. Boundaries are freedom for toddlers and safety. They feel that they're safe enough to freely explore their world within the boundaries that a responsible adult has set for them. Let me tell you exactly how it went for us, so then you know what's my personal empirical evidence. So, like I said, because our oldest was clearly like a sensitive child, and because we wanted to do things different than our parents did them, so we were giving her a lot of space to express her emotions, be who she was, not repress her feelings, and we had like lots and lots of tantrums. At some point, she started even like pushing or hitting my husband, not me, and I think because I had milk. So with me, she was a bit more, we don't want, to lose that. And she wouldn't lose that, but we don't know why. But anyway, she was trying more with my husband. And at some point, we were really, she was 3.5, and we were really thinking, my God, we have raised that very like spoiled child that is just demanding things by crying and shouting, and no one will like her. And we did this to her because we should have done things differently, and maybe we should have told her, that's not acceptable and stop it. And but we know that doesn't work. So what should we do? And so we go to school where actually she was behaving very normally, and then she would come to us and react very badly. And I would read online, it's normal because you are her safe space, and that's why she reacts like that. So, we never attempted to try something different with her. But it was going to that point that she was not being a likable child anymore. And the thing is, we do live in a society, and if other people do not like you, don't want to be around you, this will make your future very, very difficult. And the thing is, we didn't want her to adapt and lose her authentic self, of course. But also, we didn't want other people to resent her because we're also social beings. So it was a very difficult balance to find. So we go to school and we're like, help, like, teachers see so many kids. They know what is normal. They know what is not. They tell us that at school she's perfectly fine. She's not hitting, pushing, reacting, crying. Well, maybe she will cry if she falls and she's upset, but that's that. And the teacher actually told us that kids, from what you are telling me, the kid is pushing you to see where is your boundary. The kid doesn't feel safe because she sees that a 2-year-old is pushing you and you're just like, woo, going back. So how is she supposed to feel safe? She wants you to prove to her that you are a stable foundation, you're a stable wall protecting her. So when she pushes you, you need to be, you need to be here and not move. Because if you move, she doesn't feel safe to explore the world within her safe boundaries. Man, that was such a revelation for us. And I can tell you it made a huge difference. So toddlers need anyway, they need boundaries in order to feel safe and to be kept safe. Like, you don't allow a toddler to cross the street without holding your hand, before you teach them to look left and right. And, you know your child, you know what they're capable of or not. But it's a matter of safety, but it is also a matter of emotional safety. They need to be able to trust you. So when it's raining outside and the toddler insists on going out with socks, fine. If you have nowhere to go, you can let them go out with socks, get wet feet, come back in. See, it was not a smart decision. But if they have to spend the whole day at school, you need to just tell them, no, you wear your socks because you will get colds, and you will be uncomfortable and you will be grumpy, and that's it. And it's not a matter of forcing your will or taking away their bodily autonomy. It is a matter of taking care of them and showing them that there are boundaries and you are responsible for their safety and they can trust you on that. The next one is a very practical and helpful tip. Give them the option to choose between two things. This is something that actually my oldest didn't struggle so much with. My middle child, who was more or less like a typical toddler, not particularly sensitive, or I think she fell right in the middle of the spectrum in that respect. But she had and still has a huge love for expressing herself through clothes, and it took her a long time to choose clothes. All three of my kids had kind of sensory issues, not huge ones, but they did have difficulties. So it was like putting on that legging and it was too tight, and the other was too soft, and the other was felt too cool on their skin. So they will actually suffer if you tell them, choose one of your clothes and put it on. No, just tell them you can choose between those two leggings. They're appropriate for the weather it has today. So choose which one of the two you want. And I can guarantee you it will save you lots of meltdowns. And you can also, if they're a bit older, like if they're 3, 4, you can look at the weather to get them look, there's the little sun icon. It will be warm. You can't wear your woolen coat. You can wear short sleeves and shorts or a legging. What do you want? Do you want shorts or legging? And do you want the red shirt or the blue shirt? Point. That's it. Works for all toddlers, highly sensitive toddlers, even more, because the more they look at all their clothes, for example, the more overstimulated they get from all the colors and the choices and the textures, and they just suffer. So do them a favor, help them, give them an option. The next one is harder for us parents because it is that we actually have to respect their needs. Maybe you bought the tickets to that expensive theater show or dance show for toddlers, or that messy play group, or that open-ended play group that was 20 euros per person for just an hour, but you thought, yeah, I will do it for my child. And you go there, and kid is completely overstimulated, crying, grumpy. You have to respect their needs. You have to take your child, take them to a place where they feel comfortable and safe, and just leave. And also respect the other people. I'm sorry, I do not like people who keep crying or yelling or disruptive toddlers and kids into theater plays, into group activities, because you have, like I said, we're social creatures. You have to respect also the rest of the people who pay to be there or who register to be there, who are participating. But also respect your child. I know it's very annoying. If you have arranged something, if it took you time, if even you took a day off your work, or of your planning, set a time slot free to just be with your child and do that super cool thing that you thought they would love and they hate it. I know it's frustrating. Take a deep breath and try to imagine how it would be if someone got you a surprise ticket to a concert to an artist you actually hate and they force you to sit through it because you paid for the ticket. Like, it's no fun. They don't deserve it. This is actually respecting their autonomy, not letting them go with socks in the rain without shoes. Well, that's too bad. Another one, very relevant to the previous one, do not try to push them into resilience when they are tired or hungry or overexcited. I know we adults and also kids, we have to try new things. We have to get out of our comfort zone. We have to learn to, overcome adversity. But that's not the right time to attempt to do it when your child is hungry or tired or overexcited or upset for whatever reason. So do not try to force them to, stay in that theater play or have that chat with that aunt that they haven't seen for a very long time. That's not the time to teach them to be social and polite if they're tired. Like, you have to take care of their basic needs first, make sure they're taken care of, and only then you can try together with your support and push them over that little, difficulty or that little challenge and show them that yes, you can actually do it. Like, if you try, you can actually, you can try that new food, or you can try that new pair of socks that is a bit more fluffy or has glitters on them or has a different texture. You could, and they're much more open to try new things when their basic needs are taken care of. Then another important aspect is to actually respect your own needs. And this means that sometimes if you get too frustrated with your toddler, like I said, if they're highly sensitive, they will feel it, they will sense it, and it will not help them to be around you. So do take a break if you can, if you're with another adult, or if you can safely set them, on the floor in the kitchen, say, look, Mama is gonna make a tea now or a coffee. I'll be back with you in 2 minutes. You can sit next to me. And then take a few deep breaths. Like, I know it sounds very much like toxic positivity, like a tea and 2 breaths are like self-care. Well, however, they are. It's not, it's not the essence of it, but it can help you feel better in the moment. So no, it is not substantial self-care, but it is a very practical trick in the moment to save you and your toddler from further grief and further deep emotions and more resentment and more frustration. And of course, if you have another adult, call for help. Be like, help, can you take our child, or can you take your grandchild, or, dear friends, can you come over? Be with my child for half an hour. I need to have a shower, It can get very intense, and don't feel bad if you can't deal with your child anymore when they are this ongoing spiral of, crying and shouting and yelling. And calling for help is actually the biggest gift you can give to you and your child if you cannot be there for them the way you would like to be. It's very important, and do try to find people who could do that for you. Like, I'm talking as an expat without family around. It's very tough, but it's important to find a few people to be there with you when you can't be your good self around your children. And please, no matter how horrible you think they behave, no matter how horribly they cry, do not isolate them. Do not put them in their room. Do not close the door. Do not put them in the stairs, because this does actually teach them to keep their feelings inside, and that's a very unhealthy emotional coping mechanism. You can tell them, please go sit in the bank because you're yelling in my ears. My ears hurt. I need some time. Sit in the bank. You're still in the same room. You're a bit further away. And when you're more calm, or I will come to you when I'm more calm and try to further help you to, to calm down. So, and water always helps. Have a shower with them, take them to the beach. Water just helps wash off a lot of the tension. It's also it might sound stupid, but it's a very practical trick. Get them out of the house, put them in water. If you can combine the both, perfect. And then it's also investigate deeper causes. I mean, we are very lucky to have a lot of stability in our life, in the sense that we are together, like the two parents are together. We have a loving, respectful relationship, of course, with our ups and downs, but no death in the family, no divorce, no major drama. We did move houses a few times because just we had to, because of practical reasons, and that we thought that might play a bit with our oldest being sensitive to the change of environment, even though she was like really little. But further, it was a very stable environment. However, we did notice that when her sister was born, her middle sister was born, we did suddenly have more of those meltdowns and those reactions and those intense feelings. So try and investigate, is there a change in your life? Like I said, moving, divorce, death, a loved one like grandpa, grandma, going away, or these kind of big changes that will, of course, affect any child, but even more so a highly sensitive child. So they will need your extra attention. And if you see that there is no external reason that would affect them and still they are struggling to regulate their emotions with your help, maybe it is actually time to talk to a specialist, like go to your family doctor and see if there are sensory challenges or emotional challenges that need to be taken care of by a specialist, that you need the guidance of a specialist to take care of your child and make their life more comfortable and your life more comfortable as well. And last but not least, do try and practice mindfulness with your child from very early on, no matter if they're highly sensitive or not. Our generation did not have that, at least not in Europe, not in the 80s, 90s. And it is a great tool, especially because our children are growing in a very fast moving world, and being present and being able to sit with your thoughts and emotions and feelings and giving it time, it's a very valuable skill to have and a very hard one to obtain as an adult if you haven't learned it as a child. More and more schools are actually offering some sort of mindfulness education, and I will try and make another video about it. But the whole idea is teaching your child, to take the balloon breaths, like belly breaths, or teaching them to eat mindfully, like noticing the textures of their food and the different tastes, and not eat in front of a screen. Pay attention to their senses, or when you see that they start to get upset or overstimulated, you can always like draw their attention to their body, like, where are you feeling this feeling? How does your belly feel? How does your head feel? How do your shoulders feel? Like, do you need to roll your shoulders back? Or keeping a diary that you will be writing, if we are talking of course about toddlers and younger children. Do a body scan before they fall asleep, like taking deep breaths and noticing all the parts of their body, singing, dancing to shake off the extra energy or the extra stimulation, these kind of things. I will come back to that, to mindfulness, in another video, but they are very useful tools. And do teach your children the names of the different emotions. It is not just happy, sad, angry, hungry. Brené Brown has a really nice book. It's called Atlas of the Heart, and then she names like hundreds of emotions. It's very useful also for adults to be able to name those emotions, and you can just draw the different faces with different emotions and learn your child to recognize them, but also it will help them to be able to express them to you. Even if they are just 2 years old and not even able to talk well, they can just point to that face and be like, that's what I'm feeling, So it could be helpful. And if you are a family with more than one children and one child is highly sensitive, or more children are highly sensitive, please make it clear to your child, and be clear also in yourself, that the rest of your children also need your attention. And this is also something that we asked guidance for from a parent coach and from the teachers. And they were like, you can be there for your child, but if they are into a downward spiral, giving them more and more attention and just ignoring the other kids because they're doing more or less okay, it's not helpful for anyone. It is allowing the child to go even deeper in their spiral, which doesn't help them. They don't feel good. They feel very bad, actually. And it also teaches the other kids that we don't matter that much because we don't have that special extra sensitivity or drama, as they might see it. So at some point, if you see that the highly sensitive child within a day takes too much of your attention, you can say, I'm here for you, but now I need to also care for your siblings, because they also need me. So this video became much longer than I intended, but it is actually a matter that is very dear to my heart, because once we researched it with my husband and we did the reading and we talked with specialists, our life became much easier. And I'm very happy to tell you that actually our highly sensitive toddler is still a very sensitive, wonderful, very empathetic child with a very strong sense of what is right and what is just, and she will defend the weak. And we're very proud of her. It was tough to reach the point where we are now, but do not fear. Like, your highly sensitive child can become like a wonderful older child and a wonderful empathetic individual and adult who can actually help bring change to the world and make it a better and more kind and more loving place. You just need to hang in there. And like I said, please do ask for help. Practical daily things, and on a professional level, if you feel that you can't, that implementing practical tips doesn't really bring change and doesn't make your child's life better and your life better. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.